Your setup for your iron shots is crucial in helping you hit the ball well. So let's look at it today. So I just did a video on how to set up for your driver. The driver is obviously a longer club and you're going to be hitting it slightly different than you will your irons. So the setup needs to be different. And I put that setup up here, so then that way it's linked if you'd like to check that out after this video. But for the irons, we're going to talk about that setup today and how to make sure that you confidently walk up to your ball and know that your setup is correct to hit the ball well. I started playing golf when I was around 6 years old, and my early golf coaches, as well as my dad, would say, take a nice athletic stance, should look like you're gonna wrestle someone. They told me that because they wanted me to have a balanced stance, but if you do feel like you're here and that you're about ready to take someone down, like a football player about ready to tackle someone, then you're not doing it right. This position is really hard to rotate in because your feet are just a little too wide. Now with the driver, it's a different setup and we have a wider stance because we want more momentum, we want more low body and driving that swing. But with our irons, we don't need to have a huge stance. We actually can take a narrower stance and have our feet around hip distance apart here. Now that we have our stance, let's talk about our feet specifically. This is something that I've adjusted in my swing recently while working with Golf Tech. I used to feel a lot of pressure in my knees and then start to get some pain in my lead knee after a long round or practice session. But what Golf Tech taught me to help with this is instead of setting up with my feet parallel to each other and perpendicular to the target, to actually flare the feet out slightly. This really preserves my knees, puts less strain on them, and allows for more rotation in the hips. So now I recommend that to everyone. So now that we have our feet set up, we can talk about ball position. When we're setting up our driver, we do want to be hitting up on the ball. So the ball is going to be more in the front of our stance. And what I mean by front of the stance is going to be off of your lead foot. So if your target's here, it's going to be your lead foot. If you're right-handed, that's your left foot. With the driver, we do set up our ball close to inside of the lead heel. And in the video that I talk about for the driver setup, I do mention playing it off of your lead shoulder. So your left shoulder if you're right-handed, just to keep you a nice consistent location to set up. With the irons, it's slightly different. So we're gonna start there as a guide. That's where the furthest our ball should be in front of us is with the driver. And then as the clubs start to get shorter, we're slowly going to move them back in our stance. The furthest back we'll ever want the ball is middle of our stance. So here I have the 7-iron, and I wouldn't put it this far back. If you have a wedge, you can put it back in the middle of your stance. So we're basically kind of working between off of this lead foot and middle of our stance when we're placing the ball with our irons. A good rule of thumb is start off that lead foot and then work your way back about 1 inch at a time, and it should feel comfortable when you grip the club. Now, if you feel like it's too far back, and you're having to close the club face to reach, then you definitely know that the ball should be moved forward in your stance. And then also, if the ball is way up here, off of the lead foot, and the club is naturally opening its face, right here, it's open, then you know the ball is too far forward. So that's just a little guide to help you. So with the driver, we talked about pressing our hips a little bit forward so that we have an angle and we're behind the ball when we set up. However, the irons are different because we want a steeper attack angle. So what I mean by that is instead of hitting up on the ball like the driver, because the ball's teed up, we have the opportunity to hit up on the ball. With the irons, we're going to be hitting ball first and then kind of compacting it into the ground. And to do that, we are going to keep our setup straight up and down here, and we're going to slightly press our hands forward here so that we have the straight line still down the left arm through the shaft and through the head of the club here, but we're not in this position like we were with the driver. So we're setting up with our weight and our center of gravity here more in a line with the ball and not behind it. Now let's look at the side angle. With an iron, we are going to have our weight still in the balls to the middle of our feet. Then as you hinge at your knees and the hips, you'll see that you should have a line going up from the balls of your feet through your knees and then up into kind of your armpit area. So this is what we're looking for right here. Our tailbone should be tucked under and your shoulders should be pretty relaxed. And we don't really want to hunch forward and have a C shape in our swing. If our shoulders are relaxed, that's completely fine. And we have seen quite a few golfers in the history of golf who have a stance like this when they get set up to the ball. you can swing that way, but I do recommend having more neutral spine, tail tucked under, just to protect that low back and then your shoulders relaxed. So we have this stance here, and then of course, how far away do we stand from the ball? Well, if you let your arms relax in front of you, kind of hang here, where they meet together should be about where you're holding the club and how far away you should stand. This is a good guide because it should feel natural. If it feels like you're reaching, and if you let your arms dangle, they're behind the grip, then you know that's gonna be too far away and you need to step a little bit closer to the club. The same applies when you're standing too close. If you feel like you're too close and you let your arms dangle and your arms fall in front of the grip, then you are too close to the ball. So kind of let your arms dangle and then have a good grip on the club. Of course, this only works when you're standing correctly with the weight in the balls of your feet, and then this imaginary line going up through the balls of your feet to your knees and then into the back of the armpit area there. So this is the imaginary line. This gets you set up so then you can naturally let your arms drop and then grip the club where the arms are hanging. It's really helpful to practice this with a mirror just to get the feel down first. So these are just the basics of a setup with an iron. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. And if you have a question, also put that in the comments below. As always, this video was a request, so let me know what you want to see next and I'll work on creating that video. Also, don't forget to check out how to set up for a driver, as well as be on the lookout for other videos like how to grip the club and how to aim your club. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe if you haven't yet so you can see more videos like this one. Have a great day.